Hello, listeners. Welcome to season 2 of Reflecting Light. I'm thrilled to be back presenting good things about truth and light and love with you. And can I just say, I've missed you. I really have. Even though it's a one-sided dialogue most of the time, I've missed just speaking with you and sharing with you and hearing from you and sharing this beautiful experience called life. So I'm so grateful to be back with you. I welcome all of our new listeners. Welcome to the podcast. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors who sponsored us last season. I honestly could not have done it without you. You made up all the difference. I don't make a dime off of this podcast. All of the money goes to the maintenance fees for having a host and having it published and having a website and show notes and all that good kind of stuff. So truly, truly thank you to all of you who sponsor this and share that light with others. I really appreciate it. Truly. If you'd like to sponsor us for this new season, we're about halfway sponsored for the year. So if you'd like to make any kind of donation, we welcome it. So today I wanted to start out season 2 by talking about creating space. Space is such an interesting concept, but I wanted to address this topic in the sense of making space for each other. We're told that in a Zion society, they're of one heart and one mind. Now, I don't think this means they agree on anything at all, but they truly don't have a mind to injure one another. They don't have a mind to harm each other or to create division. That one heart is the really important piece that precedes the one mind. And so I think the one mind has more to do with going about doing good. Now, we all have different experiences. We have different upbringings, backgrounds, points of view on all kinds of things. It's been my observation that there's definitely a force out there trying to create division and trying to foster rancor and ill feelings and this idea that you can't disagree with someone and still be friends with them. And I think that's far more harmful than having different points of view. If any of you are familiar with the Disney show Brave, you'll notice that in a moment of great emotion, Brave goes to the tapestry or the fabric that their mother has woven for the family. Now, pause right there because one of Heavenly Mother's epithets is a great weaver. It's said that she weaves the cosmos. And so we have, even in this little cartoon, you have this Celtic reference to the mother as the great weaver, and she weaves the tapestry together. Now, I want to say that one of our sponsors and one of my good friends, Rachel, had this wonderful observation in saying that Heavenly Father is the warp and Heavenly Mother is the weft. I absolutely concur with that. I think that's such a beautiful way to say that it takes all of us together to create a beautiful tapestry, both male and female. But anyway, back to our story. In Brave, she's very upset at this idea of having to be forced into marriage, and they don't seem to be able to communicate about how they really feel about it. She takes that sword and rips right through the threads of that tapestry. And it turns out that to fix, well, and then she also turns her mom into a bear. Another story for another day. But in order to do that, they have to see each other's points of view. When they go to the witch who put the spell on her mother initially, there's this beautiful little stanza that says, and I'm going to try my best Scottish accent. Hang with me here. Fate be changed. Look inside. Mend the bond torn by pride. I know, sad, but now you can feel better about your own Scottish accent. Anyway, it's so true that we have to look inside and we have to maybe look at if we've torn any of these relationships or pulled these threads or cut them through pride, through an idea that no one understands us or that they have to agree with us, that perhaps we can look inside and mend that bond. Now, how do we do that? We do that by creating space. In the book of Abraham, chapter 3, verse 24, there's a verse that said, "And there stood one among them that was like unto God. And he said unto those who were with him, We will go down, for there is space there." And as a result, they go down into this place where there's space, and they create this beautiful world that's a place for people to come. Well, I would offer to you that those who are with the Lord, the one who is like unto God, we can also create emotional space. We can create a safe space between ourselves and those we love, and those we maybe even tolerate. Let's be honest, right? I've been in way too many discussions that I'm absolutely exhausted by, and it's been amazing to me. Amazing to look at how it has affected relationships that I perceived as very sturdy and very true. And having a difference of opinion is really, it's been surprising how much of a toll it's taken. So my plea to all of us is to make space. Now, I have a very, very dear friend who is a therapist. She's very smart. She's very talented. And she wrote a beautiful post that I wanted to share with you with her permission. Her name's Tanya Miller, and she specializes in helping LGBTQ youth and families. This is what she has to say. I have to preface this by saying that the picture for her post was a picture of her husband and 3 of her sons walking toward the sacred grove, which is a site that's considered a place of revelation and where light was bestowed on this earth. So it's a sacred space. Here's what she has to say. Alliances are important. It is a privilege to be considered an ally to any who feel misunderstood or marginalized. This is an old picture of the 4 guys in our family walking into the sacred grove. One of the reasons I love the sacred grove is its symbolism, to me at least, which suggests that the act of seeking is sacred, and that seekers will never be rejected by the Lord. After this week, I've had extra opportunities to foster and strengthen alliances with seekers from the LGBTQ community. Unfortunately, these opportunities typically took the form of heart-wrenching discussions about feelings of fear and betrayal, ambiguous losses, diminished hopes, and decreases in trust. These dialogues have served to cement my belief that creating space for all seekers is essential. Because no one demographic has cornered the market on pain, seeking does not look the same in everyone. Between the 3 of them, my boys in this picture juggle the realities of life with ADHD, anxiety, autism, and being gay in a society that still clings to homophobia. Yet with heads bowed and clear resolve, just like in this picture, they continued to seek. She says parenthetically, not pictured, our 4th seeker, our daughter, who was with a friend the day this picture was taken. I do not know what my 4 seekers will find as they grapple with the painful parts of life, but wholeheartedly say that they will never be turned away for being engaged in the life-affirming process of seeking and discovering who they are, not by my husband and I, and not by their loving heavenly parents. For my part, I seek peace. My seeking sometimes takes the form of public advocacy, but most often happens in the quiet, sacred spaces I can create and then share in my home, office, and heart. And then she quotes Lamentations 3:25. The Lord is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeketh him. The phrase, I'll walk with you, is often used by allies of the LGBTQ community to convey support. To that I add, I will wait with you, and I will seek with you. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's so imperative that as we go on this journey, that we not get sidetracked or tangled up in wanting to force our point of view on someone else. Everything offered on this podcast is just simply an idea, a thread. You're welcome to do what you would like with it. I don't think that I have the corner on any type of knowledge market at all. In fact, the Egyptian word for knowledge means everything I know and everything I don't know. I love that so much because in acknowledging what you know, you understand that there's also universes of things that you don't know or yet understand. You're not able to perceive. And so as we go along the spiritual path and seek, it's important to create space for others. I'm not saying you have to agree with them. I'm not saying you have to side with them. You don't have to have anything in common with them. But I do think that as followers of Jesus Christ, that we would simply allow for space, that we would create space in that chasm between us of disagreement and just allow for it. In the great American novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch has some wise advice to his daughter Scout. As you well know, he takes on the case of Tom Robinson, who is Black, and he understands that in that time and place, their hopes of getting Tom Robinson acquitted of this crime are not great. But he tries to help his daughter see and create space for other people and their points of view. He doesn't vilify anyone who doesn't agree with him, and he doesn't allow his children to either. And this is Atticus' wise advice. First of all, if you learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. Atticus Finch is one of the heroes of literature for his ability to consider another man's point of view. I think that's really, really powerful. And I want to even back it up a step and say, even if you can't climb into that skin and walk around in it, you can allow for the fact that they have a different experience and a different point of view, and they have a reason for their beliefs. And they have a reason for the reasons that they do the things they do, or vote the way they vote, or advocate the things they advocate. And I think it's our part to just try and create space, sacred, loving space between us, where we don't contend and we don't try to force or push an issue. Really, how many times have you changed your opinion about something because someone came at you in an argument or they blasted you on social media? I think I'm batting 0% there. But we can all make space. We can just allow for that space. And I think the most important part of this is remembering who the real enemy is. One of our children growing up thought my husband was public enemy number one, and he was treated as such. And I remember telling this child, remember who the real enemy is. Remember who the real enemy is. Now, I wanted to explain something about this enemy because I like this definition. I found it on Wikipedia of all places. I don't want you to discredit it. Make space. Make space for it. Wikipedia said this about the term Satan. The original Hebrew term Satan is a generic noun meaning accuser or adversary, which is used throughout the Hebrew Bible to refer to ordinary human adversaries as well as a specific supernatural entity. The word is derived from a verb meaning primarily to obstruct or oppose. When the word is used without the definite article, for my Hebrew students, that's the ha in front of it, the word can refer to any accuser. But when it is used with the definite article ha Satan, it usually refers specifically to the heavenly accuser, the Satan. Isn't that fascinating that there is a chaotic entropic force that's trying to sow discord and chaos and animosity in our relationships? But did you know that any human adversary, any ordinary human, could also be considered a Satan? That's really given me pause, and that's made me say, am I an accuser? Am I quick to point out flaws? Am I quick to jump in an argument? Am I quick to judge someone for their point of view? I've been watching Ted Lasso, and I have to say, I find him so inspirational. And there's a lovely episode in the first season that says, Be curious, not judgmental. If you do want to engage, be curious, not judgmental. In the last Star Wars, you all know I'm a major Star Wars fan. There's this beautiful moment with Poe Dameron and Zori Bliss on top of a roof, and he's talking to her about the odds and how they're not even sure they can go into this battle and even have a prayer of winning. So in Poe Dameron's mind, he tells her that their course is set and they're going to follow through. And she has this beautiful line. She says, "They win by making you think you're alone. You're not alone." Have you ever thought that the adversary is trying to create division, trying to burn bridges, trying to create discord, separate us into camps rather than bring us together? They win by making you think you're alone, that no one understands you, that no one will allow that space for you to be who you are and believe what you are. And I would have to add to that, you truly aren't alone. And I think by creating that space and being as inclusive to seekers as possible, that we create a more heavenly space. We allow for the divine to create space in our hearts and our minds and in our lives and relationships for their light and their love to come in when it's not filled with some of these other things. Now, my son, before he left on his mission, had me binge watch Avatar. I don't even know how many episodes of Avatar we went through, but there's several little gems found in those shows. And at one point, I believe it's in the Air Kingdom, this master says, the greatest illusion of this world is the illusion of separation. Things you think are separate and different are actually one and the same. We are all one people, but we live as if divided. Let me repeat that last line. We are all one people, but we live as if divided. The invitation for you is to make space. Now, the second part of this that I wanted to address is making space for new knowledge, new light, new points of view in terms of your own seeking, in terms of being open to heaven's education. Michael Wilcox had a great line that I wanted to share with you about this, because I understand that we are all at different places and that certain modalities work for us and maybe not others, or maybe we've been injured by a certain group or organization. And so we look for truth and light in other ways. There's no one way to do this. He has this to say: God has been talking to his children every way he can, all the time, everywhere. I would add to that the Elohim, the gods, Mother God, Father God. And if you can't listen to an apostle or a prophet, maybe you can listen to a sage or a philosopher or a musician or a poet or a playwright or an artist, and you'll see God in the lives of good people all over. So the phrase all in means not that I'm all in, but that I get to bring in all of the goodness of the world. I get to bring into my soul and my life, whether it is a Catholic saint or a Chinese sage or a Renaissance artist or a New England poet, all that comes into my life. The gospel is an all-in gospel. We need to be all in on that path, knowing what it is we want. And the privilege I have of searching humanity history and find that there is no end to goodness on this earth, and there will never be an end to goodness. There's just so much. I can't fit it all in my heart and brain. There's just not enough room. I'll need eternity to fit it all in. I love that comment. My friends, that's what Reflecting Light is about. We take light and truth from all of these sources: music, artists, poets, prophets, writers, anyone who had light and truth to share, and we bring it to you. So make space. I want you this next week to look at all the ways you can make space, not just for others, but for learning and growing. And as we do that, I promise that the heavens will respond in kind. I've worked very hard on this the last couple of months, and I've noticed an increase in my ability to perceive light and truth. I've noticed that my soul is peaceful. I notice that I feel a greater amount of love for everyone, regardless of how I feel about their point of view or their opinion or their behavior toward me about my opinion or my point of view. It's so important that we make space for each other. I had the great opportunity in the summer of 2014 to study at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And we had the most diverse group of students. We ranged from 18 to 74. We had every major world religion represented, as well as a few non-major religions. We had male and female. We had transgender. We had gay. We had straight. We had every type of person in that little bus of 20 people. And I have to say that by the end of that experience, we truly cared for each other. Incidentally, I had this beautiful moment as we walked through Zion's Gate in the Old City. Something spoke to my heart that said, Mandy, this is what Zion is. It's people who truly care for each other and want the best for each other and make that space for learning and growth. We didn't agree on lots and lots of things, but our hearts were all knit together in love. And I would add to that, I believe we made space for everybody's lives, for their experience, for their point of view. So that is my encouragement for this week. Make space in your heart and in your soul and in your mind for the good and heavenly things. When you find yourself coming up against a conversation or an issue or with a person that you find yourself in a different camp then, that you'll just create that sacred space in between that allows for both of you to be seekers of the good and lovely gifts of heaven, that you refrain from being an accuser. It does take a lot of work and it won't come immediately, but it is worthy of your efforts. Something I'm going to start this season that I wanted to do last season, but just hadn't had it totally figured out, is to have a song for the podcast every week. And we'll create this amazing playlist of fantastic vibes. So the song for this week is going to be Everyday Life by Coldplay. My son Indiana on his mission always has a theme song for the letter he sends weekly or monthly, whatever it ends up being. I'm on Apple Music, but if anyone's on Spotify and wants to do this on Spotify for us and send us the link to a Spotify playlist, that would be amazing. I'll create an Apple Music playlist and have my children teach me how to share that and make it public. But there's so many good artists, and one of our favorites is Coldplay, definitely one of mine. And this last album was really incredible. And the concluding song of that is called Everyday Life. And I'd love to share the lyrics with you. What in the world are we going to do? Look at what everybody's going through. What kind of world do you want it to be? Am I the future or the history? 'Cause everyone hurts, everyone cries. Everyone tells each other all kinds of lies. Everyone falls, everybody dreams and doubts. Got to keep dancing when the lights go out. How in the world am I going to see you as my brother, not my enemy? 'Cause everyone hurts, everyone cries. Everyone sees the color in each other's eyes. Everyone loves, everybody gets their hearts ripped out. Got to keep dancing when the lights go out. Hold tight for everyday life. At first light, throw my arms out open wide. Hallelujah. Hold tight for everyday life. I'll put a link to the music video, or you can look it up on any music platform. But it's really a beautiful song, and it's about seeing each other on the same team, that we're all in the same family, and we want to lift and cheer each other on. And even when we can't, if we can just make space or allow for space. I think it is very rare when you're in a difficult situation that you find out more information about this person's background or some of the things they're going through. And that information usually will lend itself to your understanding. And you'll feel a little bit more sympathy. My same brilliant friend Tanya said, people who are in pain tend to cause pain. And I've been thinking about that a lot. When someone's being difficult or causing you pain, maybe look at how they are in pain. All of this is said within the idea of having good, healthy boundaries and doing what works for you. And that's why I say create space or make space. It's not inviting in. It's not doing things that hurt your peace and afflict your soul, but it's just allowing for that space that perhaps there's something in that Egyptian thought that you don't know about the situation. All right. So that is the podcast for this week. It's so awesome to be back with you. If you're unaware, I just released a new class called Finding Heavenly Mother in Scripture. I'll put the link to that in the notes if you're interested in taking it. We're looking at all of the scriptures in the Old Testament, New Testament, and other canons to tease her out, to pull those threads. And I'm so proud of that course. I love it. I've discounted it $100 so that it's available to anyone who would want to take it. If you want to sponsor someone in our scholarship fund, we do have a scholarship fund set up for that. If you want to pay it forward too. So lots of good things coming up. I will be in Egypt later this month. I'm going to have Jared Rubalcava, my other guide, with me, get on and we'll talk about beautiful Egyptian truths. Harry Potter is coming up at the end of October and just lots of great stuff. So again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me if you're one of the first tried and true. And I just welcome you to this beautiful space out in the world that we're trying to create in this community. So with my whole heart, I wish you love and light.